Hello. We're being recorded, Ruthie, for posterity. Is that okay with you? We're recording just the meeting.
Well, we'll probably be joined by others, but should we start with a moment of silence? Thank you.
Okay.
So in my usual fashion, I waited a week before sending out an agenda, an hour, 53 minutes before the meeting.
Noticed.
And
I forgot to update the webpage. I just now did that.
oh yeah, great, thank you. But we've got a few things to talk about, including a new item which I put on the agenda related to the police oversight project. But why don't we start by talking about COVID funds, because we have some money to give away. And Ruthie, you reached out to Austin Sanctuary Network to learn about how they provide rent support for families that are part of the accompaniment program. Do you want to tell us what you learned?
Sure. Well, I did write something up, and so let me just reference it as we're talking. So they only pay for rent, and they're all immigrant families, and there are 16 families, something like 3 to 6 people in one family. And there are 5 team members that coordinate that are separate from the immigrant families. And what they do is at the beginning of every month, the coordinators contact all their families. So they're like Josefina has 5, and different people have different numbers, 4. And so they're contacted to see what's been going on as far as rent and income and what they need. So they'll say what they need, and sometimes it'll be less than they needed the last time because they've got someone in the household that's working. And so they don't need support. So then the next step is, after they know what people need, the coordinators get together and they look at how much they have and the needs, just so everybody knows. At the beginning, they were trying to like divvy up what people said they needed, but now they just do it equally. So however many families there are, whatever the amount is, they give it to them. Then but it won't usually cover the whole rent. And so they're on their own to figure out the rest of it.
Yeah.
So each week though, the coordinators are in touch with the families, like say once a week. And they can bring them food, which is from Foods Not Bombs and other donations. And they've been doing that since May. And they receive funds from individual contributors and from people who donate through the Austin Sanctuary Network, mentioning accompaniment in the subject line of the check.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my understanding. I wrote something out, and then I sent it by Josefina, and then she sent me this back and it clarified.
Wow, that sounds like a really good system.
Yeah.
It does.
And they've been doing it since, I don't know, almost the beginning, because everybody started meeting. And they do have other families that want to get rental assistance and food assistance. So.
Well, this is a a group that we've been led to donate to in the past, primarily for rental assistance. We've of the gifts that we've given to them twice, and I believe one of the gifts was for $1,000, and one of them was for a different amount, or was it also for $1,000?
I can't remember.
Let me look at the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the fact that we, paused a week ago to try and get some additional information about possible recipients of these funds. And so thank you, Ruthie, for reaching out the way you did.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, I'm very passionate about it. You know, I see, I'll have lunch with Christina on a Saturday. She'll say, I gotta go. I gotta contact all my folks.
yeah.
And then Monday, they get the food on Monday and distribute it on Monday. So I know the coordinators spend a lot of time. I haven't met any of the families.
So I've just looked at the spreadsheet. We gave $1,000 once and $1,500 once. And someone just texted me, oh, Claire, looks like Claire's texting me saying she can't find the link
Oh,
Tell her
to
to
the
try
meeting. So let me,
tell her to try again and refresh her browser.
ah,
She can see it.
but she's not going.
well, actually the message is that she says she can't find it. So I'm going to just go ahead and forward this to her.
It needs to go to austinquaker.org/online. And then if she doesn't see it, refresh the browser because it just got changed.
Yeah.
Can you? I
Can
mean,
you put that in the chat?
does she have
Yeah,
access?
I've just forwarded it to her.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see if that works. Let's see, just emailed.
I wanted to acknowledge Glenna. Hi.
Hi, Glenna.
Thank you for joining us.
Can't
Yeah.
hear her.
You're muted, Glenna. Yes.
There.
Hi.
Hi.
Your new house looks beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're all settled in.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
my son is doing all of the shelving. So he's on the pantry right now, and
Mhm.
it's quite a feat. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm all in, and
Great.
still with boxes. But
Yeah.
I'm here.
Welcome home.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hi, Claire.
Hi.
Hi.
We're just talking about COVID relief funds. So I know you've got an agenda item as well, which is to update us on the schools.
If that's okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Glenna, where did you just return from? I heard him say welcome home.
Oh, we've been remodeling my house. So I've
Oh,
been living with my brother, and that's been for like 3 months.
and he's in Austin also?
No, he's in Georgetown, Sun City.
Oh, okay.
And I was in
That's big.
Colorado.
That seems so far away in these COVID times, like
It
Georgetown.
does, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the other hand, you probably wouldn't have been coming. You might have come to meeting, but
Everything's far away, nothing's far away. It's interesting.
Right, yeah. So, yeah.
Terry, if you're going to stay on, you should show your face if they hear you. Anyway, what was I going to say? Do we have any other people we were asking?
So Walter suggested that he might check in with Jim Harrison,
At
Harrington, yeah, at St. James, but we haven't heard back from him and from Walter. So I'm just speaking from myself. I'm kind of inclined to. Oh, here's
Oh,
Walter.
there's Walter. Good. Speak
Yeah.
of the devil.
Yep.
before he gets on.
Hello, Walter.
Hi, Walter. How you doing?
Sleepy,
We were just talking about you.
Yeah,
as in, where is he?
as in where is he, right? We we heard from Ruthie about the Austin Sanctuary Network, the accompanying people, and we were curious as to whether you had any news about from Jim Harrington.
I haven't.
You haven't. So,
I came across something really interesting. I need to go find it. And you're talking about donations, right?
Yeah.
That's the category.
Yes.
Yeah, just let me search around here a bit. I'll be right back. I'm not going
Okay.
anywhere. Just going to my
you're going to
where's
Google.
my computer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but I think on the basis of what we heard from Ruthie, what's clear is that there is continuing need in the community, and need that is at risk of going unmet because they don't have enough to cover all of the existing needs. Am I interpreting
Yeah.
what you said, Ruthie, right?
So, like how much money do we have?
Let me check. It's something under $1,000. I think it's between 800 and 900, but I'm going to look at Warren's most recent accounting.
Yeah, so that's less than 75. That's around, I don't know, I didn't do my math, but $75 assistance in 1 minute for that.
I thought we had over that.
Well, Terry English did end up writing the check
Okay.
for
Lucille.
that's it for the food relief.
Okay.
So we had 1,230, and then a check was written for. Sorry, let me get this again here. I'm going to need to do math.
Yeah.
It's too late in the day to do math. We had 1,230, and then we asked Terry to write a check. Terry English for 330. So that we've got 900.
I'm not sure what's going on with Lucia's project. Whether actually, I don't know actually if she picked up that check. I kind of doubt it. And she hasn't been. They haven't gone to the unhoused area for a couple of weeks, I think. It seems to be like things are in limbo.
Well, I mean, we could just let her pick up the check at on her own time, if she feels moved to do this again. Give it a couple weeks, see if she doesn't, and then we can just cancel it. I don't know. Is that? I mean, because Walter, you had a conversation with her, and it was clear that she was moving forward, but things changed, and maybe she'll be moved to come back to it.
Pretty quickly, yeah, you're right.
I would be in favor of just leaving the check with Lucinda and giving the $900 to the Austin Sanctuary Network, even though it isn't the complete 1,000.
Yeah.
I'm don't think we should wait for another $100
Yeah.
when people need to be able to stay in their homes.
Right.
Here it is.
Okay.
The Community Resilience Trust. Have you guys heard about that?
Yes.
That looks like a group we should be in touch with about need and where we could best pitch in.
I think Community Resilience Trust was one of the groups that was on the list that the Ad Hoc Resources Committee put together when we first kicked all of this off. Steve, am I misremembering, or do you recognize?
I don't recall that.
Okay. Somehow I recognize the name, though.
I'm going to see if I can get you a good description of it here. I just requested to join the community, I suppose, on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. That's why I recognize it. I'm a member on Facebook.
Are you? Yeah, they
Yeah.
haven't responded to me yet.
It's a University Hog Foundation for Mental Health. That was what I'm getting. Maybe I'm the wrong.
No, that's not it.
Sure, I can read you some quick, so what you get when you go to the Facebook page, there's a, kind of an about thing about it, and it's a series of quick slides. It says it started as a question, how do we make Austin the most equitable city starting with COVID-19? Our focus, number one, provide a community-driven, holistic, strategic, and systemic response to this pandemic in the short term. Number two, develop our resilience as a community in the long term. Let's see if I can. Community Resilience Trust was built out of the core belief that we must create systems that inherently are equitable and resilient. This community platform is created because we understand that no system alone is independent, and that in order for our most vulnerable and overlooked communities to succeed, we need to create systems that make sure everyone is treated equitably and with dignity. Therefore, this group is for community leaders who are here to fill in the gaps, serve as the connective tissue, and work behind the scenes to ensure that we all weather the storm in times of crisis.
Sounds like a valuable resource for us.
It's got a bunch of different divisions, including collaborative projects and listening sessions, and
Are they doing? Are they doing
perspectives.
direct,
Yeah, sorry.
are they doing direct aid?
Doesn't look like it. I just read through the slide deck. It does not.
Yeah,
look
and I
like-
don't think that they're doing direct aid, but should know very precisely where, they're lacks that aren't being filled by others.
Well, Walter, if you get in, can you pose the question?
Absolutely, and I was
Thank you.
hoping I could do that actually before tonight, because I sent a Facebook request to one of the guys who seems to be in the leadership. But he gave a really awesome talk. I'm going to see if I can find that and forward it to you guys. Anyway, go ahead. Don't wait on me.
Okay. Well, I mean, the question on the table, or that is immediately in front of us, is whether we should write a check for $900 to Austin Sanctuary Network to provide direct aid for rent support. Just speaking for myself, I feel like that's a good use of the funds that we have at our disposal at the moment. Okay,
Sure.
thanks.
Yeah, so we need to make sure that check says accompaniment.
Accompaniment in the memo field.
Right.
Yeah, and
I know you've done this before with
Are
giving
you
checks
still-
that, I don't know what you did, but Gary.
Steve,
Are you still sending letters out when we send a check?
we haven't sent a check in so long that it's hard to say still. But we have sent letters to Austin Sanctuary Network twice when we donated to them. Now that you're clerk, I mean, maybe you want to write your own letter or
No.
model it on that letter. What we were doing is forging the signature of the clerk.
I sent you the signature, I think. I sent you my signature.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Well, why don't I do that? I'll draft a letter on the model that we've used in the past.
Sure.
And Ruthie, if you can confirm the address it should go to, because we had a problem with one of those checks going astray.
Oh,
And
Find out what the current address is.
okay,
You do know the current address or you don't?
I'll find out.
Okay, but it will get there faster if you send it straight to the treasurer. And I can get you her address if you like.
Okay.
great.
And I'll just send it after this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pretty good.
So the next item on the agenda that I wanted to touch base about is I've invited a woman named Natalie, I don't know her last name, with the Police Accountability Project, which is looking to establish a civilian oversight board for the police department in Austin. And I've invited her to come to speak to this group next week, if y'all are willing, with the idea that we might schedule her for a forum at some point, possibly in November. The reason this is relevant is because it's an effort that we specifically call for in our Friends Meeting of Austin Minute on police violence, is civilian oversight. This is going to be an uphill battle, and the first step in the process is to repeal a state law which provides for a lack of the possibility of civilian oversight. So in the email that I sent around, I dropped in a link to the project. There's a petition there if you feel moved to sign. I dropped in a link to a news article from a few days ago. And Natalie and I spoke earlier today, and I said I would, bring the topic to this meeting, see about whether we want to have her talk to us for 10 minutes or so next week. And then if it makes sense to everyone, maybe we see about scheduling her for a forum. And it's short notice. I sent around the email an hour before this meeting started, so I don't expect everyone to have reviewed this. But why don't you see if you have any concerns about having her join us next week? Otherwise, I suggest we hear what she has to say and then maybe, like I said, maybe schedule a forum. Questions, Liz?
I thought Josefina was on such an oversight group. I guess maybe it wasn't the same level.
There is a civilian oversight group here in Austin, but it's toothless.
Okay, that's
It
what I
has-
thought.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Josefina stayed on it
Mhm.
because it was so toothless. So I just don't remember. This is a while ago that I knew
Yeah.
when she was still the staff person for FSC, maybe.
Mhm.
So this goes back a really long time.
Yeah. Is this sort of new news to everyone else? Go ahead, Claire.
Yeah, it is to me, but I'm just
Uh-huh.
out of the loop in a lot of ways right now. But the state law that can be appealed, that could be appealed right now. We don't have to wait for Trump to do anything stupid.
It would require the legislature to take action. The state of Texas legislature to
And they
take
could do it
action.
right now. They don't have to wait until election day to see.
No, the legislature isn't in session until January.
Oh,
But the way you get legislation done, you have to do it now. You have
to submit it.
the committees are meeting now. So
Oh, are they?
I see.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
well, I'm all for her talking for 10 minutes next week. I mean, just
Mhm.
to find out more about it
Yeah.
and read the link that you sent.
Yeah. Okay.
If we're done on that topic, but still, I have another question about the topic of forums, but just.
Sure.
This
Yeah.
time.
I mean, so does anyone else have questions about the police oversight board or? Okay. So yeah, Claire, question about forums.
Well, I have been talking to Elias Ponvert. I think that's how you say his last name. And he was asking me if I had any time, and I said no, before he even finished his sentence, to join the Democratic Socialists. But I did think that maybe inviting him to a forum would be okay, but I wanted to run that by, I don't know who. And if so, would it be after Election Day? Because that's pretty much when I told him I was booked until after Election Day.
James is on that forum committee.
Who is?
James.
James Fuller, yeah.
James is on the Democratic Socialist thing?
No, no,
No,
no.
no.
It's on the
Oh,
adult.
the forum. Oh, got it. So he's the one to talk to?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, I will.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I think that would be.
Right.
Fun.
We had some members of, especially when Jim Tortolot was attending, some of his friends came to meeting from the Democratic Socialists, I think. We probably had,
What? Yeah.
you know, before COVID, we had some maybe regular attenders or almost regular or semi-regular.
I was a founding member.
Oh.
When I was, there were two groups, Democratic Socialist Organizing Committee and New American Movement, that merged in their convention in Milwaukee, and I was active at that time. And so I'm a founding member, but I haven't been involved in one.
Well, I'm a current member, but I haven't been involved.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm a socialist and awful.
Yeah. So, great.
I was infamous for writing a paper on Quaker socialism.
Oh, good. Yeah, is it extant, this paper?
Yeah.
Can you share it?
Somewhere.
We
I
have a
think.
copy somewhere.
It was featured prominently in an expose.
You know, there's several reasons why folks are a little bit skittish about Amy Comey Barrett's
Yeah.
organization that she's affiliated with, but
Yeah.
one of the things that's got people really outraged is share property in common. Which, and you know, like people are calling, you know, they're calling what she's in a cult because they do that, you know. It's like,
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
So the next and maybe the last thing on our agenda is this issue around the election and question. Okay, Liz, yeah.
I just want to hear from Claire before we do the election.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, thank you.
It's really been on my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Please.
And I like the idea of going out with the election because that's like
That's it.
action, forward, action.
may I just inject one thing really fast, which is what I put a post to that Facebook discussion with, I think it's Ruben Cantu,
Oh, yeah.
and also the president of Houston Tillotson. And it's just that Judy Maggio is doing it. It's just really good. That's
It's
where
good. Okay.
you know,
Thank you.
heard about the resilience thing.
Mhm.
Got me real excited.
Great.
Okay.
Claire.
So it's been such a roller coaster in so many ways. I'm sure all of you feel the same way, but specifically with AISD, we thought we had some promise with the new superintendent, but turns out that the promises that she made, she's not keeping, and she's being inconsistent, contradictory with what she's telling the press and how she's promised to work with the union leader and 40 people who are on the ground or close to people who are on the ground working directly with students to come up with a volunteer plan so that not 100% of the teachers have to come back as they ease in the students. A volunteer plan meaning that, you know, kind of who needs to stay home, who can maybe come in if there's a need, blah, 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 like a gradation like that. But turns out that despite the promises, the superintendent was not willing to work with that. And I think a lot of it is passing the buck, and a lot of it is truly coming from TEA. But the union's ready to move forward and take it to the media. And because we've really got to like not let them get away with what they're getting away with, which is like for me, Monday was supposed to be everybody in school as far as the teachers. And I didn't go. I continued to teach virtually and for 4 days, Monday through Thursday. And without my knowledge, somebody put in 3, what are they called? Personal days for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then last night when I sent out a request to the principal, how do I put in a personal day for Friday because I'm going to the doctor's, I'm not feeling well. That's where she directed me to, and I looked on there, and that's when I saw that somebody had put in 3 personal days for me, which I had 3 personal days coming. But they also had put in a sick day for me on Thursday, even though I had taught Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like I did for 4 weeks in the relative safety of my own home with most of the students. There were only 2 students, even though it was pre-K to kinder could come in. There were only 2 students from my class who came into the classroom. My coworker agreed to work with them the first week, but after the first day, they ended up getting a sub because my 2 students were not able to keep their masks on and they were not practicing social distancing. And we knew this was coming because we know the students from last year and we knew that they had behavior issues before COVID.
Yeah.
So even in this classroom with 1 adult and 2 students, they were not being safe. And I was still teaching them, but I still could teach with my mask off because I'm still in my own home, and all the other kids were in their homes, so they could have their mask off. But these kids, I constantly, even with me teaching remotely, put up your mask, put up your mask, put up your mask, and it was very disruptive as far as getting anything done. But it was more unsafe for the adult in the classroom with the 2 kids who had to like be less than 6 feet away. So anyway, so who knows? We get paid at the end of the month. The union is working hard to make sure. I don't know how many teachers are in my boat, but I know there are some. The union's working hard to retrieve that money. And I did go to the doctor today and I got an accommodation. But it hasn't been approved yet. I submitted it, and I've never been so happy in my life to be obese because that's one of the CDC accommodations. And at first,
Eat that ice cream. Eat that ice cream, Claire.
and at first the doctor was like, "No,
I hate
this
to burst
doesn't."
your bubble, but you're not obese, Claire.
No, you're not.
That's what I thought.
At first, the doctor was like, "No, this isn't." It said severe obesity, but then above it, it says obesity. And Joanna and I went over the figures ahead of time, you know, with my weight and everything. And there was a chart in the doctor's office. And when the nurse checked, I looked and I said, "Oh, good, I'm obese." And the doctor agreed. So at first she was like, no, because all she saw was the extreme obese line. But then she looked at the obese line and she said, "Oh, wait, okay." And she said, normally, this is CDC that they're both basically at. She said, normally it comes with comorbidities, but it wasn't on the letter. So we found the loophole, at least as far as the doctor's concerned. So she wrote a note saying that my accommodation should be continuing to work from home. I submitted it tonight, you know, we'll see. And I intend to continue to work Zoom back in tomorrow, Monday. And even if I don't get paid, I mean, Friday, I was kind of advised, you know, not to go to work, just to kind of show them the impact, you know. And I thought that was good advice for today, but I don't want to keep doing that, even if, you know, we'll see when at the end of the month, what they pay me for and when they pay me. But, you know, I had like literally half the families calling me and saying, "What is going on?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, I took a sick day. You know, I don't know what you're supposed to be doing because the administration did not advise me," you know. So, I would just say stay tuned, you know, because I think what I sent out to you all was kind of sent out to the union leaders. I'm not really one of the leaders, but they include me in a lot of the correspondences because they see me as a leader, even though I'm not like paid to be a leader and officially considered a leader because we already have one at my school. But so I think that just went out to the union leaders. There were people who are volunteering to speak to the media. I'm one of them. But we haven't gotten any guidance of how and when we're going to do that. But that's just one thing to do. Another thing they're asking to do is people to write their AISD board members. And I have emails for all that. And I'll send that out when I'm hearing that they want us to pass that on to the community, because I
Great.
don't know for quite
Right.
yet.
Hmm.
But that's the update. And it's a big disappointment with the superintendent, because we,
Yeah.
at least the union guy, Ken, had some hope for her and was cautiously optimistic. But
I'm curious how the kids are doing, how the distance teaching with kids that age is going. Because I imagine their attention spans are.
Right. And that's one of the problems with one of the two kids is, his parent told me ahead of time, this kid has no attention span. And, and normal 5-year-olds, don't have good attention spans. But, in particular, a lot of these kids are trauma, they come from trauma homes and stuff. And so they have like 0 attention spans. So
How do you work on trying to keep their attention with distance learning? What kind of?
The good thing, if I continue to teach at home, I can literally be face to face on the screen. And when they go to if I have to go into the classroom, I have to wear a mask. And for the kids who are still at home, I think it's another layer of distance, because now what happened to our teacher with the mask who could say, this is how you make the letter M. Okay, now we're going to smile and sing a song, and spitting. And I mean, singing is safe to do in your home, not so safe to do in the classroom with other kids. So
at that age, it's so important they know your emotions.
Yeah.
They can read all that.
Thank you. So it's really impossible.
Critical.
It's not, I just think it's impossible. And the CDC, even the CDC or whoever, I think there's AISD in conjunction, they get around it by saying that students have to wear masks when feasible. Well, if a kid can't keep their mask on, that's not feasible. Or if they're eating lunch and breakfast in the classrooms, which they're doing, they're taking their masks off, of course. So I don't know, but I think the biggest thing is if they would just have let the teachers given them a choice the way they're giving the families a choice, I think it would have been a much happier situation all around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, keep us posted, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Maybe this is a topic for another forum. Have the AISD union leader from your school come and speak.
Oh yeah, sure. We have a lot of them, but Ken is a good guy. And then there's a guy, they have people over different districts, and our district at Oak Springs, and maybe, where the Friends meeting house is, because it's not that far away, is Stephen Wright. He's good.
Mm-hmm.
This woman in the office, Mary, man, she's amazing. I mean, I don't know how they do it, because they're just, I'm sending them stuff every day, like so much stuff, and I don't know how they keep track of everything. They're giving me great, advice, and they have their own team of lawyers who can, like help them. Cause I'm like, can they do that? Can they put in time off for me when I didn't, request it, blah, blah, blah. Well, our lawyers are looking into it. I'm like, okay, just checking. Yeah, there's a great team of leaders there. But,
Good.
yeah, I think they need to wait until after the election too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, everything should be put on hold till after the election.
I know.
Well, these trainings are kind of accelerating is the wrong word, but they're holding them repeatedly in the weeks leading up to the election. And George Lakey's group, I participated in a 2-hour training earlier this week, which is the same one that Ruthie and Walter did last week. It was great. They're holding a train the trainers session in case someone feels moved to start giving this training themselves. I don't, but I highly recommend it, and they're holding it. They're holding this, I think, on a weekly basis, this training. I also participated in a training called Preparing Together, run by East Point, and I highly recommend that one as well. Really, really strong. They're the whole thing. Their whole thing is based on a concept they call fierce vulnerability, and it's very grounded in teachings related to nonviolence, and they are holding twice weekly meetings. A lot of this is related to activities that are going on in the East Bay area, but not all of it. In the training that I participated in, there were people from New Hampshire and Baltimore and the upper Midwest as well. But they will, starting October 25th, have what they call Days of Deepening, which are a series of workshops for each of those 10 days leading up to the election, as well as days of action after the election. They're relying on the George Lakey Choose Democracy framework for all of this work. So they're well coordinated with that Choose Democracy group. And so, one of the, in addition to kind of encouraging people to participate in these kinds of workshops, I also wanted to amplify something that George Lakey said in his presentation, which was that one of the most important things that we can do is reach out to elected officials on the topic of counting every vote, because it's sort of hard for an elected official, regardless of their party, to oppose that. It's what got them where they are now. And so on the question of whether or not there might be a Friends Meeting of Austin minute on the topic, I thought that this is, perhaps an avenue that we should explore. And so I took the liberty of just writing something, which is probably not going to be something I can paste into the chat. No, it's too big. But let's see. I guess I'm now host, so I can share my screen. Apologies for the dark. Let's see. Let's do it this way. I've got my dark mode set. Can you read that?
The setting right before it was better with larger print.
Yes. Right.
I'll do that. Does that work?
It's
No.
worse.
Well, that's the little print,
Oh, that's the little
even
print.
tinier.
Let me do this again here. Font
Bigger.
bigger.
Ah, good.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
Great.
Yeah.
Stick that on a wall somewhere.
Well, there's something we have in common with Amy Comey Barrett.
What?
A social order which works towards the kingdom of God.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just in terms of the kind of the structure of it, I figure we ought to be starting off with faith and practice. We ought to be saying something about what the role of a faith community is in a democracy and why it's important that we are advocating for democratic values. And then we need to say something about the vote. And I'm not wedded to any of this language, but I feel like that might be a structure that kind of works towards a message that is spirit-led but credible to an elected official. I don't mean but, I mean and.
The one word that jumps out at me, Jim, is kingdom. I don't know, is that like a gender,
That's a
male
good-
gender?
That's a good point. I mean, this is a direct quote from our Faith and Practice. We could end it here.
And then put it in your own words without the word kingdom.
And yeah, that's a very good point.
Nice call.
Yeah. But what I mean,
Now
we don't
no
need,
longer have anything in with Amy coming through it.
right? Even better.
Played it on her.
I'm not suggesting that we kind of wordsmith this now, but what I'd like to do is email it around and see what people think. One of the questions that I think is still on the table is this even an appropriate action on our part? And, you know, one of the things that we're doing as a committee is trying to determine if this is a leading that we want to bring to meeting for worship with attention to business. And so that's something to consider as well. And partly what we ought to do is consider that here tonight, but also meditated on it between now and next week. You know, I feel like we do have a little bit of time to kind of craft a message that that we think will be meaningful and spirit-led. But what we want to do is bring something to meeting for worship with attention to business, a called meeting that we can then turn around and do something with almost immediately, because this needs to get out this month if we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So I guess my suggestion is that we sleep on it and we think about it and we discern about it and we talk about it again in a week, so that we're not sort of rushing into things, but we do understand that we want to. If it's going to happen, we need to get a request to our clerk for a called meeting pretty soon.
And would that called meeting likely be on a Sunday, or is that to be determined?
I don't know.
Clerk?
I have a couple of observations about it, or, yeah, no,
Oh,
I think it would,
Go ahead.
Steve, it could be on a Sunday, right?
Could be anytime. Yeah.
Okay,
We had one on a Saturday in relation to closing the meeting house. So.
yeah. Probably convenient on Sunday. We could announce it at the worship meeting and before.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'd be logical.
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts. One is that, as I recall from that Lakey training, the idea was to ask public officials to commit to not allow a usurpation of power, and some, more specifically. And that one way to do that is to, if it's a close call on the election numbers, then state ahead of time that no decision should be made until there's a certain count of all votes.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, second thought is then, I'm wondering if we should have like another little paragraph, a couple of sentences saying what the context is, that, there's an entity in this election process that has threatened to undermine it. And
Yeah.
say something about, you know, quote some direct quotes of some specific aspects of that threat. So what we're responding to is clear. I mean, because you know, the way it's written now, it's not terribly, I'm not sure it means a lot for the way I heard it or read it was the officials are saying that they will count the votes. You know, like, and of course they're not going to count the votes. So it's like, it's just,
Right.
and that's not a very unusual thing to have the votes counted. So anyway, I just think we should contextualize it in with the threats that have been made, specifically the specific things that have been said. And talk about commitments on the part of officials, A, to resist any usurpation of power that's you know, in violation of the law and the Constitution, and B, you know, if as one part of that, if the call is close on, because if it's not close, there's no reason to wait and count all the votes. There's no reason to count all the absentee ballots if like it's a landslide for Biden.
Right.
So if it's close, then to state ahead of time, if it's close, that, you know, we demand that all ballots be counted before decision is made.
Thanks. Liz, you were.
I think by quoting Trump, I think it becomes partisan, and I'm not sure that that's helpful. And I'm
So,
just, I
I'm
mean,
glad
I'm
to say
not
that.
scared to
Yeah,
quote
yeah, yeah.
or anything like that. I mean, you know, it is fact that he has said this.
Yeah, with the undermining of our democratic system is a nonpartisan issue.
Yeah. So one of the things that George Lakey also said was that at a time like this, when you're trying to mobilize to prevent a coup, we need to reach out to those in the center. Now, of course, the center has shifted so far to the right in recent years that feels a little awkward. But that one of the points that he was making was that the allies that we need right now are those who we might not, in fact, agree with on policy-related matters. And so that was sort of in my mind when because I was thinking, Walter, of the same thing that you're suggesting, that we say something about unprecedented threat to democratic processes or attempts to maintain an illegitimate hold on power. But some of that sounds a little inflammatory to those with.
I agree. That language is inflammatory, but I think we need to contextualize it so that the representatives we're approaching know what we're talking about, know that, you know, they're making a firm commitment to be public on these issues ahead of time in relation to, you know, the situation that the president has created. And you know, I think our language on that needs to be extremely diplomatic. I agree, but I also think that we should speak with clarity so that they understand precisely what they're being asked to do. Otherwise, they could just weasel around it.
Yeah.
I mean, or not.
So,
you know.
So thanks.
Not do anything to say that they did it. You
know? I'll ask you to kind of maybe craft something then that, or take a look at what I email around and see if you can add something that does the work that you're suggesting, which I mean makes sense.
Sure, as a proposal.
Sure, exactly. I have a question about whether there's ever been a Friends Meeting of Austin minute of this sort, or is anyone aware of any Quaker meeting which is doing a minute related to the election?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
We could be a leader in this.
No.
I'm sure that sometime in the past during the Vietnam War, there were, you know, lots of minutes related to specific actions and specific people to support and elections. But, you know, questioning the election integrity is where this is new.
Yeah.
So I don't see it all that out of line with Quakers engaging in the electoral process for faith-based reasons.
We
Okay.
declared sanctuary,
Exactly.
Right.
and you know, that was involving really resistance to one of two parties.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's not my point. The point is, though, if we want to get our city councilman to sign this, to
Mhm.
agree with it, then we may need to look really nonpartisan.
Oh, yeah.
You know me, Walter. I mean, I'm, not only, I'm ready to break the law if it's, I mean, non-violently, but ready to break the law, and I have, in
Well,
my
I don't-
younger life, but
Yeah,
which is what sanctuary was all about. I mean, being willing to do that.
I was just pulling out an extreme example in response to what Steve was.
Yeah, it's just a
in terms of,
different, it's
you
a
know, the
different,
permissibility of Quakers speaking to, political related issues.
Yeah.
it's,
That's all. Yeah, no, I
it's not
totally
the
agree with you.
political,
Terez. It's gotta be,
it's the partisan, it's the political, it's
gotta be
it's somehow
nonpartisan.
going through
Right.
that.
We're going to be nonpartisan. We'll have nonpartisan language, but I think what Walter is bringing out is that we need to, instead of this being a general
Yeah.
principle, we want to contextualize it in this fraught time
Yeah.
I-
with
that's all.
potential threats being expressed,
Yes.
things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But not
Good.
quotes, is what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That doesn't,
I like the part that you said about whatever about both sides. I don't know if you use that word, both sides, but that kind of, I think, is a nod towards people who are more in the middle and might
Mhm.
be, oh, okay, this is good.
Oh, the part where it says like regardless of who you vote for.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
that's really true.
Yeah. So the other thing, we're almost at the top of the hour, but the other thing that we talked about last week at the forum was reaching out to our peer faith communities in town to see what sort of efforts are being mobilized around possible direct action related to the election. And so I wondered if anyone had connections you wanted to follow up on. I mean, Walter, you could talk with Jim Harrington, I suppose, or does anyone know anyone at the UUs, or should we be talking to folks at the Mennonites?
well, there's some UUs who come to what Jim Crosby's saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's been moved to the 15th from the, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from the, just in case you didn't get the message. Nonviolent auctions moved to the 15th from 7 to 9, as opposed to the 16th.
Is that next Thursday?
That's next Thursday.
Yeah. Okay. So that'll be an opportunity before this meeting next week to learn something from what's going
Right.
on locally.
Right.
Yeah. Great. Okay.
And also, I think Joanna has some contacts. I don't know why she isn't here.
Where is
Yeah.
that gal?
Pardon?
Where is that gal?
Yeah, I mean, last week after this, she said, "Oh my God, I missed it." So maybe I should have texted her, but it's a little late now, because we're at our time.
We're at our time. Yeah.
But I will. She has some contacts both within the Jewish community and the
Okay.
community. So I don't know whether our friend at the where Ilya is, what the church where Ilya is, whether he's doing what he's up to. Jim, right?
Well, St. Andrews, Rigby?
Yeah, Rigby. Yeah, Jim Rigby.
Mm.
I don't know what they're up to, the Presbyterian. So, I mean, this is an issue that should be, that I think a lot of people should be concerned with. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what Jim Rigby's up to. I was thinking Ilda and Olivio,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
not Rigby, that's separate.
Well, between now and next week, I will write a letter to ASM for that can go out over Steve's signature, which I'll circulate to this group and to you as well, Steve. I'll circulate tonight the draft text I just shared, and I'll talk to Natalie and find out what her last name is about coming to next week to talk about police oversight project.
We're Quakers, we don't need a last name.
Yeah. Ruthie.
What was the name of the workshop you did through East Point?
It's called Preparing Together.
Okay.
And I just
Um,
signed up for the 16th for the, I think that's when I signed up for.
Yeah, I just dropped the link in the chat.
The 22nd for the, for,
The Lakey.
Lakey thing, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to continue to participate in some of these trainings as well, and we'll share. I've got some various slides and whatnot, and I can share those as well. Anything else before we end with a moment of silence? Thanks, everyone.
You.
Thank you, friends. See you Sunday.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Jim.